Welcome to the Spot On Insurance Podcast, sponsored by Insurance Licensing Services of America, ILSA. This is Ted Tavares.
And this is Arlene Tavares.
Before we get started, remember to click on the subscribe button so you don't miss a single episode.
Hello and welcome to Spot On Insurance. This is your host, Doug Foresta. I want to remind you before we begin that if you have not subscribed to the podcast, please go to iTunes and subscribe so you won't miss any of our wonderful episodes. Today, my guest is Matt Aaron. He is the co-founder of Insurance Agent app, and we're going to be discussing why mobile is vital to your agency's future. Matt Aaron, thank you so much for joining me.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Doug.
Thank you. So where I thought we'd start is perhaps we could just define what an app is. I mean, can you say a little bit about, we know, for example, that it's important for our website to be mobile responsive. What's the difference between an app and, let's say, having a mobile responsive website?
The literal definition is that an app is downloaded from an app store. And these days, generally, that's either Apple's App Store or Google's Play Store. And if it's not downloaded from there, it doesn't fall under the literal definition of being an app. If it's a mobile-optimized website that is bookmarked, that is not an app. So hopefully keeping it that simple clarifies it.
Thank you so much. So the next question I want to ask you is, I want to take another step back and ask you the question of why. Why is it important to me if I'm an agency principal? Why would I want to have a customer-facing app?
Yeah, great question. And I ask people, agency principals all the time, ask them to think about the service providers with whom they have a business relationship. So it could be banking, it could be travel, but somebody whose app they might use. And, if you have a business relationship with a service provider, and they're consumer-facing in some way, generally speaking, they have built an application that allows you to engage with them via the app. Banking is a great example that I like to refer to because banking has been working at mobile banking since 2002, and it's taken them a long time to get where they are today, to where a good percentage of the population is very comfortable taking an image of a check and depositing it via a bank app.
Yes.
But it wasn't always that way. They went through some gyrations very early. In 2002, Wells Fargo abandoned a mobile banking initiative that was online-based because they only got 2,500 people to sign up for it. They had to say, you know what, people aren't ready for this. And then you fast forward to today where just about half of Bank of America's personal and commercial banking customers are using the app weekly. And that's a huge number of people. It's over 70 million interactions a week. So it took them a long time to get to that place. And I am a Bank of America customer. I've watched their app evolution since 2008, and they've come a long way. And it's a much better experience today than it was when they started out. And it wasn't perfect when they started out, but they keep refining it and making it better and better. So back to your question about why an insurance agency might deploy an application for their clients. If you think about it, there are very few business categories that actually deserve real estate on a smartphone. But insurance is certainly one of those categories because arguably when someone needs to reach out to their insurance agent, there's been an event that's transpired that says, I don't want to be messing around with who my agent is. I just want to tap my app and get to them and get to what the primary needs might be, which is, I've been in an accident. What am I supposed to do? Or I need to pay my bill, or I have a change request. Can you send me my ID card? I can't find it. Those are the four primary reasons why someone might interact with you via a mobile application. And those are great reasons to be there present for your client on a mobile app.
Just to go back to that example that you shared about a bank and having a customer facing app, I could say for myself, certainly as a customer, I wouldn't join a bank today, that didn't have the, customer facing app and didn't have that option.
Yes. Yep. And I will say that we've had a lot of our clients say to us that their clients are saying, do you have an app?
Yeah.
And particularly the younger ones. And yet the fastest growing category of app use is with those who are 55 plus. So this notion that, it's all millennials, it's all the young guns, it's not. It runs across the demographic population from young to old. So this is not just for younger individuals.
So thank you for that clarification about, why an app is important in the insurance industry. I want to also delve into something that I know you said, that an app can help you do more both for agency and for clients. Can you dig into that a little bit and explain, what is that doing more and what would that look like?
Sure. And again, if I were a principal listening to this, I'd ask my CSRs, producers maybe, what are the service calls that you get? And could an app help alleviate or handle those requests? And generally, those requests fall into ID card, change requests, pay my bill, or, I've got a question. How do I engage with it? Can I send you this? And, that's what our application does for agencies. And depending upon the level of integration that we've got, sometimes if we are integrated, we can do more than where we are not integrated. So and again, trying to keep it straightforward, an application should streamline for an agency the business that they handle most of the time, and that's for internal purposes and then for external purposes, and allowing a customer to self-service when they need to. I'll go in and out of using banking as an example again. But Bank of America, yes, I'm a customer, but they also have a great body of research over how their app in particular, has been used over the last 3 or 4 years. And one of the elements that they noted was that, yes, app use has increased exponentially, and those numbers are all available. But interestingly, most of the users have been to a branch at least once in the last 6 months. So customers aren't saying they won't come to the bank. They're not saying they won't come see you. They're just saying if they can get their business done in a different way that makes their lives easier, let them do it. And that's what an app can help somebody do. Make sense?
It does make sense. And one of the questions I was going to ask you is, have you heard the objection from principals? I'm just kind of thinking about this here. Has anyone said to you, well, if we have a mobile app, then it's going to take away from the interaction that our clients have with CSRs, or somehow it's going to take away from that personalized touch? I'm curious if you've heard that and what your thoughts are about that.
Great question. If you're an agency principal, ask yourselves, how many times a year do you interact with your clients right now? And I'll use my own personal lines agent as an example, because we don't hear from them, period. Whether it's by phone or occasionally we'll get an email that is sponsored by the company and their name will be noted somewhere down at the bottom of the email. But there's very little communication from that agency. So in that case, if an app were deployed by my agency, they would have the ability to, at the very least, send out a notification through the app. And that notification might say, Happy New Year. If you acquired anything over the holidays that might require special coverage, please give us a call. And by the way, now's a great time of year to inventory just the 5 most important items in your home. And those are the kinds of touches that people don't mind because they're relevant to their lives. Hey, you know what? Yeah, we did just get this thing over Christmas that, you know what, we probably should let our insurance agent know about it to see whether or not we need to, put some coverage on it. It comes back to, what is the proper amount of touch that any business lays on their customer? And, some will say, well, if they can't reach me, then I'm not really touching them. Well, if you're not touching them right now, you're not touching them, period. And an application would allow you to do that. The rule of thumb these days is people are going to engage how they choose to engage. So if you're saying, okay, well, I'm here for them, that's great. How else are you there for them? And in what ways are you making their lives easier? Because if you're just saying that the phone is still there for them to pick up and call, I would argue that there are too many other digital tools that are available to let your clients know that you are there. The smart agencies that I work with have a checklist as to how a client would like to be communicated with, whether it's a phone, whether it's an email. Less and less, it's a fax. I got rid of my fax machine about 4 years ago, so I don't even have one. But what if it is by an app? because I guarantee you there are a lot of individuals who would prefer to be contacted via an app. Maybe it is a text message. And for those agencies that have the ability to text through the management system, great. We can utilize that through the app. In fact, we're outlining how we want to do that. We don't just want to put in an element that says, text, because we've had requests from agency principals saying, well, I want a text component so someone can text me. And our first response or question back is, what happens when that text comes in at 2 a.m? What's the workflow? How's it going to be handled? What number receives that text message? And if it goes into the management system and it's part of a workflow, that's great. We want to incorporate that. But we're not just going to put a number in there that someone can text to, because the expectation is when someone texts that there's a response, and generally an immediate response once someone texts somebody.
Right. And at 2 a.m, you may not get an immediate response. That's the...
Exactly. Right. You want text at 2 a.m? No,
Not really, no. Exactly.
No. So, but again, it's allowing the customer to choose what's the best way for them to reach out to their service provider and allow them to make that choice. I still am dumbfounded by the businesses that say we're closed for lunch. We're closed the whole weekend. I'm not saying you don't get weekends off. I'm just saying if someone wants to set up a time to meet with you on Saturday morning, let them do it. And don't make them ask for it, like they're putting you or imposing on you by asking for a Saturday morning meeting. Well, guess what? That may be the only time that they have free the whole week. But it's important to have that discussion. And the good agency principals I know do make themselves or their agency available.
I want to ask you about this idea of a customer funnel versus a prospect funnel. And my understanding is that a mobile web is better for a prospect funnel, but a mobile app is better for a customer funnel. Can you just explain that and how that works?
Generally, think about your own behavior. If you go searching for something on the web, whatever it may be, and particularly there's a lot of searching going on this time of year for an item or a business, and you're going to come to them via the web, most likely. And you're most likely going to do that more and more through you are doing it more and more through a mobile browser, Safari, Chrome, maybe Firefox. But it's most likely, if you're an agency, the people who are searching at that point are your prospects. Because if they are a customer, they are most likely, if they're searching for your agency via a web browser, going to be at some point retargeted by an advertising and some kind of insurance-related advertising. So if I do a search for Acme Insurance Agency, I can guarantee you that I'm going to be hit up by either advertising from a direct, a captive, or maybe another agency down the street. So we always encourage our clients to say, look, you can't help it if a prospect finds you. In fact, you want them to find you via the web. And if you position yourself digitally through proper SEO and every other digital component that should be set up properly, that creates a great funnel for your prospects to flow through. But you don't necessarily want your clients searching for you via a web browser, whether that's mobile or desktop-based, because guess what? They're going to be retargeted. So keep them contained, your clients and customers, inside their own mobile app environment, where they will not be retargeted with competitive advertising.
Spot On Insurance is sponsored by ILSA, Insurance Licensing Services of America, America's premier licensing and regulatory compliance experts. To learn more about ILSA and the services they provide, visit ilsainc.com. I think many of us have had that experience where you go to your existing, your existing insurer, you're a client of an existing company. You're looking for a quote, and then all of a sudden you're surfing the web and you're being targeted constantly as you go around. You say, wait a minute, I'm already a customer. I just wanted to look something up. And I think, if that happens enough and you keep showing up and keeps popping up, that could be off-putting, right?
Think about it. How many times has that pair of shoes followed you around?
Yes.
And it does.
Yes.
It's freaky. And you're sitting there going, okay, I'm done. Guess what? I either don't want the shoes or I did already buy them.
Right.
It's a whole other issue with online. Yeah, it's a whole other issue with digital advertising. But, the same thing will happen because insurance is one of the largest advertising categories for the search engines. If you look at the amount of advertising that is put out by the captives and directs, it's massive. And a lot of it's going into digital as opposed to just television, radio, and print.
I know another thing you talk about is that a distribution channel must excel with the front-end policyholder facing technology. So I'm wondering what that looks like for an app. I mean, we're saying, for principals and agents, go get an app, but what does that app need to do really well?
Again, those 4 components that I mentioned earlier, the one-touch access to an agency, the ability to pay your bill through the app, and that could be something as simple as a link or a phone number that goes directly to an insurance company. ID card access, whether or not the ID card is preloaded or would need to be loaded by the individual simply by taking an image as if they were depositing a check, take an image of the ID card and load it into the application. And God forbid if someone has an accident, they have a simple and effective way of documenting the accident and sharing that report with one touch. And I mean a comprehensive report, not an image attached to an email. That's not a report from our perspective. So at a minimum, those are kind of the ante for a good mobile application. The app should also be a great what's called a user experience. It should be simple to navigate and very intuitive. It should not be cumbersome, and it shouldn't beg questions about what do I tap next to get to where I want to go. We get very high marks for the simple user interface, the experience, and that is arguably, the rule of thumb is the easier it was to use or is to use, the harder it was to build, because that's what takes time inside of a good mobile application. I would also say that, it's not static. An application should constantly be not just updated technically with the current version is the word I'm looking for, of the software that the application may have been built on, but what other features might be incorporated into the application that will keep it moving forward. We have a very long list of items that we want to incorporate in the application. Some of them are dependent upon working with agency management system vendors in a way that creates a better experience for the customer and the agency. So we're doing an integration right now with the Hawksoft agency management system, and that was announced a couple of months ago by Paul Hawkins at Hawksoft. And we're really excited about it because it will allow us to do a deeper level of integration. We've got a goal that would delight everybody on the commercial side that relates to certificates, so that if we can work on that and get it done, we're really looking forward to doing that. But, making it seamless in a way that if there is a change request, the change request isn't an email requesting something. It's actually gone into the management system's workflow and ends up either on someone's terminal or in some way is acted upon either seamlessly, meaning the ID card is updated or reissued in some way. Things like that when we think about what do we want to add to the application, we're constantly asking, how will this add value? And believe me, we're excited about where we're going. We just won an award at in a contest called the Accord Insurance Innovation Challenge, and that was in the last week of October in Boston. We were competing against other companies that were in semifinals in London, Chicago, and New York, and we won the semifinal in New York, and we were competing against 2 other finalists from the 2 other cities. And we won the disruptor category because of what we were trying to do. And what we're doing, we did a proof of concept with Selective Insurance to deliver a first notice of loss, and in our case, an accident report, directly from the mobile app, first to the agency and then directly to Selective using the Accord standard that is in place for accident reporting. No one's done that before outside of a closed system. And in a closed system, I mean someone's company app, like a Geico app, Progressive app, or Selective app. And, that's where we're going, is if we can deliver value like that for the companies and in turn for their distribution partners, the agencies, that's the kind of innovation that we're talking about. And that's a big deal. And the next innovation that we're working on with Selective is delivering policy data sync directly into the app, so that where we are not integrated with an agency's management system, we'll be able to deliver policy information for the agency's customers that in this case might come from Selective. So, and that's a bold move. No one is going and integrating with companies directly. It's also a very enlightened perspective on Selective's part. Selective recognizes that, you know what, we've got a great app, and they do have a good app. However, Selective is very mindful of the fact that the agency has a tighter relationship with the client than Selective might, or any company for that matter. Right. So that company's perspective is, hey, you know what, we'll work with that agency's mobile application because at least it establishes a connection to the customer.
I wanted to ask you as a follow-up to that, does it matter if the business, if the end user is a consumer, direct consumer, or a business? Would an app work equally well with both types of clients?
Yeah, right now, our application, I would say most mobile apps that agencies are using are geared more for personal lines. Mm-hmm. And yet we integrate in ways where if there is a commercial vehicle or commercial vehicle policies, those can come into the app so that where there are fleets, we can bring in a fleet of vehicles, and there are different ways to have that be useful for the customer or the business. I referenced certs earlier, certificates of insurance.
Yes.
Some of those can be very long and complex. Some can be very simple. And it's the simple ones we're looking at and just saying, look, if someone just needs if someone just needs a cert, let's make it easy for them to access that cert. And that's something that we're focused on. So I would say right now, yes, the early days of the application are focused on personal lines, but we see a need for allowing the application to be used for commercial lines customers out in the field.
My guest today has been Matt Aaron, and we can send people to insuranceagentapp.com. Is that correct?
That's correct. And that's a new URL that we rolled out in early November. The old URL was goinsuranceagent.com. We were finally able to acquire that other URL, which is it's more seamless with who we are. So very happy about that, insuranceagentapp.com.
Matt Aaron, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your words of wisdom with us. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. Great to be here. And thank you, Doug. Appreciate talking with you.
Thank you.
Direct your podcast questions to iask@soyteam.com. Share this podcast with your friends and remember to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode.
As always, thanks for joining us.